This is Road America, and we have the warm-up coming up for the XL Grand Prix. Let's head over to INDYCAR Radio now.
This is the NTT INDYCAR. With live coverage of today's final warm-up, this is INDYCAR Radio.
Welcome to Road America. The XL Grand Prix at Road America is set for a little later on today. Mark Janes, Davey Hamilton, Joel Sebastianelli, and Alex Wolf set to take you through the next 25 minutes or so as Davey, it's here, race day, and the final tune-up here at Road America.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing they're going to be up against is a completely different day than they've had. Now, it is early. The temperatures aren't up high, but what they have today that they haven't had is sunshine. It's been kind of cloudy, overcasty. The sun hasn't beat directly down on this racetrack. Well, today it's going to do that, and what that does is going to increase that track temp pretty substantially. So it's going to make it slicker out there. Obviously, it's very humid, it's very hot, ambient-wise, but that track is going to get slick today.
You folks that are around the course listening to us on PA, I know it's an old saying and might wear it out a bit, but please hydrate. Try to find as much shade as you can, and that's the great thing about this National Park of Speed, if you will, Davey Hamilton. There's plenty of places to get relief from the sun.
Yeah, and that makes a huge difference, right? But hey, you're going to be so excited watching this race. You're going to be moving around. Hopefully a little breeze. I mean, I do see the flags. It's blowing a little. That breeze definitely helped yesterday. Now, it was more than a breeze yesterday. It was a flat-out wind. Matter of fact, watching the flag guys are right in front of us and hanging on to those flags was difficult for them yesterday as well.
Let's get specifics on the conditions by saying good morning to Alex Wolf.
Well, good morning, Mark Janes, and good morning, everybody not only listening around the world for that matter, but as you said on the PA here at Road America. And these cars, when they head out for this warm-up session, will be facing an ambient temperature of 85 degrees. A track temperature right now sitting at 100.2 degrees as the engines are revving. Colton Hurd out in his pit box, and luckily enough, Andretti Global, as many of these teams are, with the canopies set up to try to keep cool and out of the shade a bit. But as Davey was talking about, a little bit of a breeze beginning to kick up here on pit lane, which does feel quite pleasant right now as the cars roll out onto the track.
Davey, 9 o'clock Central Time, and it's 10 o'clock Eastern Time, and the track temperature is already at 100 degrees.
Yeah, no, and that's, I think, the high, and I think I only seen it like a 109 or something. It wasn't that super hot out there, but like I say, today it's going to, with this, I mean, it's a beautiful blue sky. I mean, what picturesque view we have and day we have. Other than that, sun is going to be beating down on that black asphalt.
We understand how ultra-sensitive those cars are. We have well documented that throughout the course of our time together, most assuredly. But for those who may not know, downforce is at a premium when conditions are like this.
Yeah, that's right. You really want a lot of downforce in the corners. But this racetrack, this is where the engineers get paid their money, because a lot of straightaways here. But you got to remember, the technical corners here, you want some grip. You want to make sure you come off those corners and go through them very fast. And there's some fast corners here. Matter of fact, watch them go down through turn 8, going through that carousel right now. Carousel, it's fast. I mean, yesterday, the Tuesday, we're wide open through that thing, which is it's fast. You're getting through there really, really good, and then going through that kink down that back straightaway headed to Canada corner. And so you need downforce, but you don't want too much to hurt you down these long straightaways.
Big story yesterday. The rookie Louis Foster used a combination of alternates and primaries and stickers and scuff to get his first career pole this first season of the NTT IndyCar Series. Needless to say, a very happy Louis Foster when he won the pole award yesterday.
Jubilation in the 45 pit. I can only imagine how you feel when you realized you had the pole. What went through your head?
I mean, I saw the delta on the lap and I knew it was good, but some of these guys in this championship pull stuff out of nowhere. Super happy. Obviously, the 45 drop light Honda has been rapid. We've kind of been struggling in FP1 and FP2, but yeah, I didn't expect that at all. I just, we didn't change the car much. I just pushed as hard as I could and just see what we had, and yeah, awesome.
You say out of nowhere, but when we were at Indianapolis, you put all 3 cars in the Fast 6 on the road course. Is there something about these 2 tracks that works with this team?
Yeah, I think we're strong on road courses. I mean, you look at all the road course races this year so far, we've always cars in the Fast 12, we've always had cars up front in qualifying especially. So, yeah, I think we've got a package that suits road courses really, really well, and these are the weekends that we need to take advantage of that.
You said it came out of nowhere. Do expectations change now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, we're going to try and get as many points as possible. We're sitting quite far back in the championship, and I need to get some good points on the board. So, sensible, smart decisions to bring home some good points.
Our Joe Sebastianelli with your pole sitter, Louis.
Grand Prix, they were really good here, and I think these fast road courses, we'll see how they do at Mid-Ohio over 4th of July weekend, but I think they have pretty good setup on these fast road courses.
Louis Foster talked about points, and he's spot on of how significant it is for that race team, Davey, because right now he and Devlin DeFrancesco are on the outside looking in that leader circle money.
Yeah, that's 2 cars from out of that camp that need to have some points that last half of this season. Now, you know, at Foster, we know what happened at St. Louis, where, you know, he got into the wall, spun around, and got T-boned by Newgarden, so really no points there. DeFrancesco's had some issues as well. They really need to get a lot of checkered flags. They need to push. You know, first of all, finish every race. They need to focus on finishing every race. I think if that happens, they'll put themselves in good position. But then secondly, you know, don't take any high risk, but man, try to make some moves and get towards the front of the field.
You know, talk a little bit about the racetrack. When you slide down out of 3 through that mooring sweep, which is turn 4, and get underneath the Sargento Bridge, and you're set up for that left-hander to turn number 5. The most pronounced elevation change is from 5 back up the hill to 6. That's a left-hander, which leaves you the hurry downs between 7 and 8. Michael Young will be watching that today. But quite frankly, there are some other portions of the racetrack where the elevation changes. I know the most pronounced one is off of 14, but there are some other little elevation changes from here to there, most notably from 1 all the way down to 3, where you can get awfully fast.
You know, and the good one you talk about is from 5 to 6. You're going uphill, as you said, pretty good, and you cannot see turn 6.
Yeah.
And you just crest to get flat, and right when that happens, you're turning. And so it's really hard to get a good angle in that corner. I mean, I found out yesterday it takes you a little bit of muscle memory and knowing where to turn that car and slow it down to get to that corner, because that is a big elevation change, as you said. But coming up this front straightaway, when you're going up, it feels like you're going off a jump for a motorcycle, man. All you see is sky going up there, and you hope there's nothing on the other side, but that's
Newgarden, Award, Malukas, Abel, and Rasmussen. Just 14 cars have taken laps so far. And Davey, so what is the stated goal for this particular session? We're going to, I guess, settle in definitely on these long runs, as long as a run as you can get here, to find out how to stack your primaries and alternates.
Yeah, that's right. A couple different things that you're doing here that you haven't done this weekend is make sure you're full of fuel, because that tells you your heavies are going to be. Then you put the tires on and start doing some long stints just to see how much those tires fall off. And as I look, it's mixed up between reds and primaries as we see Jacob Abel spun off down and just right. It must have got loose, turned around. It doesn't look like contact, to be honest with you. He went in between two Firestone signs. I don't think it knocked either one down. I don't see any damage to the car, so could be good news for Jacob. Yeah, I think he has popped it back in gear, which he has. He's going to spin it around and come right up pit lane, so it's going to be a short little red flag here.
And while we have this red flag condition, it's an opportunity for us to visit with someone who's been a part of our family for a number of years now, and he has the enviable task of introducing us to most of these drivers that we will eventually see in the NTT IndyCar Series, and he is with Joel Sebastianelli, our good friend Rob Howden.
And the two of us are actually watching Jacob Abel pull into the pits right now. No damage on that car, 4 new tires, so just to update that, he'll be good to go. Not to take anything away from Kyle Larson, but Rob Howden, the series development director for the USF Pro Championship Series, you pull double and triple duty just about every single weekend. And if we have learned anything, when we come here to Road America, if you can win in junior formula, that's a pretty good sign for what your career is going to turn out like down the road.
Yeah, Joel, if you look at the top of our program, USF Pro 2000, the stat that we keep looking at is the last 7 champions we've had in this series. 5 of them are IndyCar here right now. Renus VK, Kyle Kirkwood, Stingray Robb, Christian Rasmussen, and of course the pole sitter for today, Louis Foster. And the other 2 of the last 7 are of course Miles Rowe and Lockie Hughes, who were P1 and P2 at Worldwide Technology Raceway. So our feeling is if you can have the success in our program, win a scholarship to move to Indy next, you're very likely going IndyCar racing.
Triple header this weekend. You just got away from victory lane. We saw Max Taylor take a victory in USF Pro 2000, but Max Garcia has impressed a lot of people and did so again with his 2 victories earlier in the weekend.
Yeah, coming into the race today, Max Garcia, who won the USF 2000 championship last year, had a 74-point lead. He's getting to the point where he may be able to go to Portland with the championship already locked up in Toronto. But a great victory today for Max Taylor. He took it to Max Garcia and was able to come away with the win. Only the second driver to win in all 3 of our levels now, USF Juniors, USF 2000, and USF Pro 2000. A big run for Max, and of course, coming home in the second spot was the Canadian driver, Matt Clark. He is on a run right now for Exclusive Autosport. Last 7 races, 6 podiums, and the one that wasn't a podium was a top 5. So this guy is an absolute phenom as well. The guys at the front of our program right now, they're primed and ready to go next racing in 2026.
So as we go back to green behind us here for IndyCar warm-up, USF 2000 also here. Totally different championship scenario there, and I think it gets a whole lot more interesting with the results this weekend.
It's interesting because there's only really 2 drivers kind of in the fight right now, and that's Thomas Schrag from Ohio for VRD Racing and Jack Jeffers from Exclusive Autosport, the Texan driver. They came in with a pretty big gap over the driver in 3rd and 4th spots. In the very first race of the weekend, Jeffers was actually going for the lead, got into the wall coming out of turn 1. He finishes last. His primary title combatant, Thomas Schrag, ends up getting the victory, so a big gap there. Of course, Jack able to come back in a spare car. One of his teammates got out of his car, Brendan Cooley, to allow Jack to get into that car because they didn't have a spare car for him. He ends up finishing in the top 10. Schrag was just outside, or just inside the top 10, I believe. So Jack got a couple points back. There's still a long way to go, right? We go to Toronto, and Mid-Ohio first, then Toronto and Portland. Lots of racing still to go, but those are the primary drivers that are going to go for the scholarship for USF Pro 2000 next year.
Rob Howden, we are always happy to see you, happy to hear from you, and happy to watch these young guys on the ladder. Thank you so much.
Yeah, exciting for us all the time. I can't wait to watch the Indy next race. 13 of the drivers have come through our program, and then, of course, up into the IndyCar Series event. This is going to be such a great race. We're all tickled to see Louis Foster on the pole position. Hopefully he can bring it through to a solid finish, maybe even a victory, but it's always big for us, of course. You got a chance to talk to you guys at IndyCar Radio and watch our graduates excel in IndyCar.
This is where it all starts, Mark James.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I would put Rob Howden somewhere in the neighborhood of IMS and IndyCar President Doug Bowles in terms of one of the hardest working guys in motorsports for sure. And boy, things getting interesting, Davey, down in turn number 5. That's not the first time this weekend. It won't be the last time.
Yeah, well, one thing, when you pass somebody, which Pato did, passed McLaughlin, but you just try to give him some room instead of just throwing him right off the racetrack, especially in practice right now. And McLaughlin, he was on the outside, but no room, shot him off the racetrack. That allowed Newgarden to get by as well. But A little early for that, but that's okay. And back to Rob Howden a little bit. I mean, he keeps track of everything. Honestly, I was in touch with him a couple weeks ago. He was at a go-kart race in Salt Lake City, Utah, which, you know, I mean, he's just everywhere. Every weekend he's working. He loves this sport. He loves covering it. He knows the teams. He knows the drivers. He knows who's coming up next. And you know, he's fun to listen to.
An update for the pits with Alex Wolf.
Up towards the front of the pit area, everybody going back out of the stoppage on red tires. All three Penske cars, Pato O'Ward. David Malukas was here just a little bit longer because they made a rear wing adjustment to the 4 car. He'll be rolling off from row 4 a little bit later on this afternoon. And one thing that maybe Davey can talk about that I was noticing listening on the scanner early on, and it's sort of a standard operating procedure in a warm-up like this, but Alex Pillow, the pit to driver communication, they were doing radio checks all around the track on the first lap or two. And Davey, maybe you can talk about the fact that that's critical on a track like this, with being 4 miles around and sort of the landscape with the trees and whatnot around the track.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, we do that at every racetrack. You know, we do a radio check. We're even, you know, on some of the short ovals, we'll check the front straight and the back straight. Obviously, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's important to have communication all the way around that on those ovals. But yeah, you're right. This is a 4-mile course. Elevation changes. You got, you know, a lot of trees and woods, a lot of things kind of, you know, blocking that signal. And there's going to be areas that you may not be able to talk to your driver. Matter of fact, down in like turn 5, I had no communication with our 2-seater guys. So you're down in a hole that just the repeater doesn't get the signal down there. So they're just trying to find out where the driver can hear or talk and where not. And that's where you learn how to talk to you, communicate with your team.
Joseph Newgarden has gone to P1. Santino Ferrucci is second quick. Then Power, Ilott, Reedus VK through 5th. Colton Hurd is 6th. Nolan Siegel 7th. Scott Dixon 8th. Felix Rosenquist 9th. Marcus Erickson 10th. Scott McLaughlin 11th. Giffen Simpson is 12th. Marcus Armstrong 13th. And Kyle Kirkwood and Christian Lundgaard. Christian Rasmussen 16th. 17th. Stingray Robb 18th. Robert Schwartzman 19th. Pato O'Ward. Pillow is currently 20th. Louis Foster 21st. And Daly 22nd. 23rd is Abel, 24th is Rossi, 25th is Ray Hall, 26th Malukas, 27th Devlin D. Francesco. A little boost of experience coming to Arrow McLaren as of June 30th, and most notably for Nolan Siegel is Kyle Boyer will join that team and reunites him with the likes of Tony Kanaan and Brian Barnhart. A huge hire for Arrow McLaren.
Yeah, you know, I think it's going to be a hire that he just slides right in and takes off. A lot of people at Arrow McLaren have worked with him before. They know what he's about. They know what his talents are. They know where they're going to place him already. And I think he's just going to, there's not going to be any, you know, getting used to the team, getting used to the situation, what he's going to be doing. I think it's very clear. And I think they're going to take off running. I really expect to see a complete different set of results out of Nolan Siegel than we've seen in the past, just with that one guy on that stand.
And another big note yesterday, TT IndyCar Series announcing working in tandem with Dallara and other component suppliers. A new car design coming a couple of years away, a reduction of 85 to 100 pounds compared to the current chassis. It'll go to a 2.4-liter twin-turbocharged V6 internal combustion engine, expected to provide more torque and power over the current engine formula. And with the low-voltage hybrid technology introduced to the series last year, will continue to evolve with the new car. Longer deployment, more horsepower gain, and overall improved performance. And other things that we'll talk about as the date gets closer. But Davey, things pretty well finalized now. And boy, it could be introduced and implemented. The plans are to have it on track for the 2028 season.
Yeah, so one thing is, you know, I'll be honest with you. I know everybody wants a new car. And back in the day where, you know, Penske built his own and Patrick's built their own. Then you had Marches and Lolas and Dallaras and G-Force, so many different cars. And it seemed like you had to build a car to keep competitive year in, year out. Well, now that just Dallara, everybody has the same car. This is a DW12, and man, we've seen some outstanding racing with this car, and they're very safe. And so I wasn't in that big of a hurry. I know some of the people and teams going, hey, it's just too old. We need to update it. And I can't say I disagree with that, but they've really taken their time. I think they're going to look at it. Dallara's ready to go. I've talked to them many times. They go, hey, all they got to do is say when, and we're going to have it ready. They're ready to design and get going, and they can do it pretty rapidly. And so excited to see what that's going to be. I think there's going to be so many things better. For example, the aero screen and the halo system. it's going to be built with the car. It's going to be designed with the car.
Well, to that point, there are so many things that have been added to this car that it was never designed to have on it.
That's right, and that's a big effect right there. And then the hybrid system. I'm not 100% sold on the hybrid system at this point, but hopefully we, as the series and all these teams and the people behind the scenes, have learned, okay, what works with a hybrid, what doesn't work with a hybrid, where can we put it now to help the weight distribution, and it just make these cars better. I think they're going to look better. I think it's going to be more applicable. One thing that I do worry about with Aeroscreen is it's driver safety as far as debris getting in, but if you are to get hurt, it's getting a driver out of the car, and so they're going to work on all that. It's going to be great, and I think they're going to do a lot of testing in 2027. Obviously, I think we should, cover that and be part of that as well.
As Doug Bowles, the president of the NTT IndyCar Series, said, the time has come for a new car, and the three areas of emphasis will be competition, powertrain development, and safety. Those are all pillars of the engineering, design, and development.
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to see in both Indy Next and IndyCar is I like to see, and I've never had it, so I don't even know how it would work in IndyCar. I've always had it's just been a manual rack. I've been good with it, but I think these cars, they generate so much downforce now, it makes it hard to steer, and so it's a bit of a disadvantage maybe to the smaller statured driver. And I think that maybe if we have a small power assist or something just to help the smaller driver, they may have a lot of talent, but they're small in stature. It's very physical for those guys, and so maybe something like that could help out as well.
Felix Rosenquist has gone to P1 with 5 minutes remaining in the session. Scott Dixon second fastest in Ferrucci, Herta, and Newgarden. Ray Hall, Armstrong, DeFrancesco, VK, and Kirkwood. That fast lap, by the way, at a 1:45.072. Back to Joel.
Well, before he springs back into action, let's talk to Christian Rasmussen's fueler, Ben Braden. You played for the Green Bay Packers, all Big Ten at the University of Michigan. How do you wind up from the football field, Lambeau Field, to pit lane at Road America?
Well, sorry, I was waiting for the car to go by. I've known Ed Carpenter. We would always train in the off-season in the same place, and we'd always hang out. And when I knew I was going to be retiring, I've always had a huge love for cars, and I've always wanted to get into racing. I called him. I said, I'm getting out of football. Do you have anything in racing? He's like, oh, absolutely. Come by the shop, and we'll try you at fueling and see where it goes from there. And I practiced for a couple weeks at that, and then they kind of started asking me, like, do you have any mechanical skills? I'm like, well, I've just tinkered with cars, so. And then they kind of started throwing me at different things with the car, and it all went well, obviously, and it's kind of progressed from there. So honestly, I never pictured I'd be in IndyCar, and so it's been kind of like a cool transition to go from one professional sport to another, and then to get to work on race cars. So
everybody knows the athleticism and competitiveness required to play football. Is there anything that surprised you about what's required being a part of a race team?
Yeah, I would say with fueling, a lot of the skills that you needed as a lineman, your feet, your hands, and all the hand-eye coordination kind of really translated over to fueling, and I think it made that transition a lot smoother. So that was pretty surprising, but also fun at the same time.
From the big house to Lambeau, you've seen the pantheons of football. You've seen them now in racing as well. Indianapolis, Road America. Is the energy the same when it's time to get out there and compete?
I would say the 500 is definitely probably the closest comparison with all the people and how loud it is, and like the whole aura behind it, and the build up from 4 o'clock in the morning, and fans start rolling in, and then, everyone's starting to get warmed up, and race time is coming. I would say that's the closest comparison. So.
All right, he's going to have to put his other helmet back on out here in 1 second. Ben, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We wish you good luck with Christian Rasmussen in the splendid Chevy today. He's not the only Green Bay Packer here. Davey Hamilton, you're going to have to take care of Josh Jacobs in a little while.
Yeah, look forward to that. Josh is going to go for a ride. Fastest Seat Sports. We're going to have him pace his field, so it's going to be exciting.
I would say if your career has allowed you to take the field at Lambeau Field and be a fueler for a car at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, you've had a pretty good existence.
Yeah, that's pretty fun, isn't it? That's pretty wild.
Those are two pretty iconic venues, most assuredly.
Yeah, good for him. And you know what? There's a lot of stories like that we don't see all the time.
That's right.
And there's one thing with certain athletes and football being one of them. When you're in, we see quarterbacks that go quite late in their age, and play for a long time. But these linemen and these guys that take hits every play, it wears on them. And there's sometimes their careers are fairly short just because their body can only handle so much. But and where do they go from there? And it's great to see him. You know, it's great to see him over here. And I see him in NASCAR side too. I mean, it takes some strength and coordination to do these pit stops.
Well,
sure.
and that's good stuff. And earlier, we started this year having our pit guys in their pit sweep in the pre-race show. They highlight an over-the-wall crew for these teams and these drivers, because we think it's significant that those people get a little bit of notoriety, because they don't often get it during a race. We don't mention them, and the only time you highlight them is maybe when a wheel comes off halfway through a lap after a pit stop or something like that. But these men and women are unbelievable athletes, and they're highly trained and highly skilled, and we enjoy the fact that we're able to give them their props in our pre-race.
That's right.
show.
And how hard is it? Work with Dreyer and Ryan Bolt, and they have a gym right in the shop, and those crew guys are up there working out every day, basically, and then there's a pit stop car that are practicing pit stops and just trying to do their best, and that's a daily thing for these teams. And so strength is part of Pit Fit, is a great gym in Indy that obviously a lot of drivers go to and train, but so do the crew guys.
Well, Chris Pollock and I years ago did a media pit stop competition at the Speedway, and I think Chris and I were able to change our tires in about 15 seconds. While we were impressed with that would get us fired from the race.
Yeah, 15 seconds, that's 2 stops.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's they like it to be a little faster than that. So Rosenquist continues P1 at 1:45.072. Dixon, Ferrucci, Herta, Newgarden the top 5. Then Rahal, Armstrong, DeFrancesco, VK, and Kyle Kirkwood the top 10. Here's how the rest of this day will go. We'll take a bit of a break, and then we're going to dispatch Michael Young and Jake Query and yours truly out to the course. Nick Yeoman will settle into this chair and guide you through the 20-lap Indy Next race presented by Firestone. And then we'll have a bit of a break, 45 minutes or so, until the top of the hour at 12 noon, 1 o'clock Eastern time, when we'll set the stage for the XPEL Grand Prix. So, Davey, who do you like today?
Well, I tell you, I'm going to take the first one, I guess. I'm going to have to take Below. I think he starts second. I think he's had a really good car all weekend. I think Barry Wanzer and him just got some magic going right now. They kind of fallen off that ship maybe a little bit and not kept that streak going. Had a few bad races, but I think it's time for them to get back to victory lane.
I would say Louis Foster's not going to go away quietly. I mean, I think he's pretty driven. He's got a lot of confidence, understandably so. Kyle Kirkwood's been hot of late, but a guy that I feel like I just, for some reason, I keep being drawn to Christian Lundgaard to get the win today.
Yeah, well, that's a good one, and I think he's due for sure.
Yeah, Robert Schwartzman right before the checkers gets over the rumble strips, all the way over the rumble strips to the exit at turn number 14. He spins it around, but does not make any contact.
Yeah, stalls the car as the checkered, as you say, comes out. And what happened is got a little bit sideways, got a little overcorrection. He's right behind another car. I think that was Rasmussen that he was behind, and he's able to fire it up and get going again. So this session's over, but as you said, it's Plo, Rosenquist, Dixon, Ferrucci, and Herta, the top 5.
And your guy right at the end, the last lap,
last
he's prone
lap
to do even during qualifying.
And I see
P1.
everybody in the top 9, or I'm sorry, the top 11 have the red alternate tires on, and you see mostly red up there. I'm anxious to talk to some of these drivers and have some of our pit guys talk to some of the drivers on what's the dag on these tires. Are they going to last a full stint, or they want to get them off early? And that's going to be a big dictator on what today's race looks like.
Just 4 on the primaries, by the way, in this session. Again, join us 55 minutes past the hour. Nick Yeoman and company take you through the 20-lap Indy Next race, and then we will rejoin you at noon Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time for flag-to-flag coverage of the XPEL Grand Prix at Road America.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you very much, INDYCAR Radio, for talking us through the warm-up. Well, our eyes are all set to the XPEL Grand Prix later on. Louis Foster starts on pole. What a big moment for his career. Will he be able to maintain it? You're going to have to join us to find out when INDYCAR goes racing for the Grand Prix later on.